Okay, so I was going to make waffles for you this morning in my waffle iron on the wood-fired stove, but when I went to do it, I realized that the maple syrup jar is pretty much empty. There might be enough in there for one waffle. So instead of doing that, we're going to make maple syrup. It's cold outside. We've had a couple warm days. I was able to collect about 10 gallons of maple sap, which will be used to make the maple syrup. That should give me 4 or 5 cups. That'll hold me over until it warms up a little bit more to get the sap running again. So anyway, I've got a big copper pot, fireplace, some wood, pretty much all that's needed. I'm gonna cook it down as far as I can in the open fireplace and then move it over. Now, cooking maple syrup inside your house isn't necessarily a good idea because all that moisture has to go somewhere. However, when you do it in an open fireplace, you have a vent that it'll vent all of that moisture outside. The only thing that's important to really remember is you got to keep that flue temperature high enough that all that moisture doesn't stick inside that chimney and start dripping like water in there. So I'm burning good dry wood. I'll try to keep a really nice hot fire, especially after that pot starts to steam, so that I can keep enough heat up in that chimney to keep the temperature above 212 degrees all the way up so that I don't get a wet chimney. Last thing I want is water to be running in there, creosote smell, creosote. I mean, there's all kinds of bad things that can happen from having water running in your chimney. So good hot fire, and it'll be fine here. I'm not speaking for everybody else's fireplace. This one was designed to do this type of thing. So anyway, here we go. Okay, so I'm at the cabin, and as you can see, the snow's starting to melt. Nice warm day. We're probably 45 degrees, kind of chilly last night. Perfect weather to start collecting maple sap to make maple syrup. So yesterday I put a couple buckets in, tapped a couple trees just right here in the neighborhood. I live in a small neighborhood. I know it's not what you would think for a log cabin, but I live in a small neighborhood, and we're gonna go check a couple buckets that I put out yesterday and see. I've got 2 trees in the neighborhood that really produce well. So the new pup and I are going to go check it out and see what we're getting so far. This is Lavender. Come on, Lavender, let's go. Let's go. That's a good girl. That's a good girl. Let's go. Let's go check the buckets. Come on. So this is my neighbor's house here, and 2 of his big maple trees down here really produce a lot of sap for me. So let's go see what we got. Come on, Lavender. Good girl. Okay. Kind of windy out here today. Nice 50-degree day. Cold last night, and these 2 trees here that I had tapped produced really good. So I think I have almost a 5-gallon bucket there. I'm going to transfer it into this to carry home because that bucket's got 2 holes in it. And hopefully in the next couple days I can start doing some maple syrup. So let's get it emptied out. Definitely a full bucket, so, and it's dripping pretty good. I'm hoping to get another full bucket by tomorrow morning. It's going to stay warm for a while here this evening. Good girl. Woo! That's a good girl, Lavender. That's a good girl. Anyway, I'm going to get the other one, and then we are going to head home. just about enough for me to get started cooking, but I'm going to take these over, try to get 10 more gallons in the next 24 hours here at these couple trees. We're at the very beginning of maple syrup season, so there's a lot of time left, but I wanted to get this done early while I have time. That's a good girl, Lavender. Damper open, pot in the fire. First thing to remember about a copper pot, you never build a fire under a copper pot that doesn't have something in it. These things are soldered together on the bottom, so if you build a fire under the pot without something in it, you'll burn the bottom out. So we'll get a bucket of sap in there. I did these yesterday, and the sap is pretty much shut off. It's temperature's dropping again out there. But I've got 10 gallon. I've got 2 holes in one side of this bucket, so I can dump off the other side. I think I can get all 10 gallons in there. If I can, I'm going to. That way I don't stop the boiling process once it starts. Okay, there's 10 gallons. So I would say that's probably a 12-gallon pot, because it can hold a couple more. But once I get it boiling, it'll be a different story. I've got this all split down pretty small. Come here, Lavender. Okay. It's only been about 15-20 minutes, and I've got temperatures about 125. So anyway, I have a long way to go to just get the boiling point, and then I got to get everything to evaporate out. But I've got a nice hot fire. It will probably take most of the day, but I'll just clean up around the house and do some things around the house and just keep a little fire underneath of it. Before you know it, it'll be done. So the pot has been reducing all day, and I've went from 10 gallons down to maybe 1.5 gallons. I'm going to let it go just a little bit further, and then I'm going to pull it over onto a smaller heating source, like over onto the wood cook stove or onto the gas stove, but probably the wood cook stove, and then just get it reduced down from this almost syrup to syrup. Anyway, probably another half an hour or so, and then I'm going to move it over. So I've got this reduced down plenty enough that I'm going to get that fired up. But because I've got a nice fire burning here, I'm just going to take some wood from here, put it into the cook stove, and then go from there. There should be enough here to really get a nice fire going over there. So I've got this old grabber that I picked up who knows where. I can just drop a couple hot coals in here. And if I have to, I'll use a shovel and just get a scoop. started out with like 10 gallon, and I've probably only got maybe a gallon, gallon and a half in there. So let it go a little bit longer, and then I'm going to move it over there once that fire gets going. That'll get it rolling quick. Okay. Maybe it's not too big. Let's just do it. There we go. So that only filled that pot about that far, and I started with 10 gallons. So we're well on our way to making maple syrup. I figure four cups is about all I'll get, 4 or 5 cups. So this should be holding at about 200 degrees because it was boiling 212. Anyway, I'm gonna open up the burner and get it set. Okay, there we go. Now, we just keep an eye on the temperature until it reaches 218 degrees. 218, 219, and then we have maple syrup. Okay, I'm right at that place where I've only got, I started out with 10 gallons, so I'm not gonna get a whole lot anyway. But I'm right at that place where I'm holding it just 212 degrees. And I'm holding, I'm not raising yet. But I'm right at that place where any second now the temperature should start to go up. So the last thing you want to do is walk too far from it now, because if you do, it can all be ruined and turn to sugar. So I'll take a second to say, I'm a novice at this. I have a cabin. I've done this before. I built a cabin, but not a lot. There's people that have much better ways to do it, reverse osmosis and big operations, evaporators. I'm basically just showing you, there was a time where everything wasn't bought, where to get something to put on your pancakes or on your waffles, which I'm going to cook tomorrow morning, you had to work for it. It took evaporating away 10 gallons of water in order to get what little bit of sugar was left in that tree. So that's the only reason I'm really doing this. I do like it. This is the last of what I had that I made before. So I do like maple syrup. It's but it's a lot of work. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it cost me probably a nice little stack of wood, 2 days, and drilling out trees and tapping. It didn't take that much time, but yet a little bit of time here and there invested in it. And then I've been boiling all day, so feeding wood underneath that fire all day to get this 3 or 4 cups of maple syrup. So anyway, it's well worth it for the experience, for sure. Okay, I have maple syrup. It only took all day, 10 gallons of sap to get that much maple syrup. So after it cools, I'll put it in a bottle and we'll do breakfast tomorrow morning with it. Okay, well, after cooking all day, I've got myself 1 quart of maple syrup. I don't make that many waffles anyway, so it'll last me quite a while. And I'll probably keep the trees tapped and Next week, it's going to run really good. So I might do it again and make a little bit more. But honestly, that's probably enough to last me 6 months or maybe even a little bit more. So another jar would be good to get me through a year until next season. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. Simple process, good and sweet.